Do you want to have more fluency in everyday conversations? Then this video is for you. So today's video, I'm going to be sharing tips with you on how to improve your fluency in just everyday conversations. So I'm going to be sharing a whole bunch of tips, and they're all grouped up into three large categories that help move you in the direction of more fluency in just everyday conversations. And these are tips that I use on my conversation, on my speaking ability as well. So do watch the whole video to learn on techniques and tips that you can use to improve your fluency in everyday conversations. So let's get right into it. The first section of tips falls under the category of reducing tension and maintaining your flow in conversations. So the first tip I want to tell you is you want to do mindfulness breathing. Now, what this means is before you speak, just become aware of your breathing. Become aware how you're breathing. Now, if you are breathing fast and you're feeling anxiety and tension, then just because you've moved your awareness to your breath, okay, just keep it there and take a few deep and slow breaths. And then what this will do for you is it will give you more control, right, of your conversation and your breathing, but also in that process of giving you more control and in that process of focusing on your breath, which is something you can control, it starts to relax you, starts to give you a sense of more control, right? And this is something you want to have. And then when you finish your conversation, again, do take some deep and slow breaths to relax and get yourself back into yourself as well. And by being mindful of your breathing, you give yourself a chance to relax, you give yourself more control, and you're not letting your stutter or your block dictate you. Second tip is pacing and pausing. Pacing and pausing is a great tip to use to give you more control, more confidence, right? So what you want to do is speak in a comfortable pace. It doesn't have to be very quick. It doesn't have to be super slow, right? But speak in a pace that you are comfortable with. I do want to also say pausing is important as well. And one thing that you will see is everybody pauses, even me, even the most fluent speakers takes pauses as well. And pausing is a great opportunity for you to gather yourself, reset, and just know the next few words or next message that you want to express as well. And throughout everyone's conversation, it's okay to pause. So pace yourself and also take pauses. Tip number 3, positive visualization. Before you start your conversation or you jump into a conversation, spend a few seconds to visualize positively you being more confident, you being more fluent, you just talking with much more strength and energy. And these visualization, it just helps put your mind at ease. It also puts your focus on where you want your focus to be in. You feeling confident, you feeling relaxed, you have clarity, which gives you a sense of control over your speech. that's much better than you having your anxiety, your nervousness, your lacking of confidence take over you, right? So positive visualization. You can also extend this into the night as well. So just before you go to sleep, you can spend 5 minutes just visualizing how you speak the next day, and just visualizing you being more confident, visualizing your emotions, visualizing the words that are coming out of your mouth. And this really makes a difference to your speaking ability. All right. So the next area I want to talk about is how you can create a supportive environment for your speaking, for your speech or your conversation, right? How do you create a supportive environment? So there are 3 tips I want to share with you. The first is set the tone, right? Set the tone of the conversation. And what this means is what you can do is talk about topics in the conversation, especially early on the conversation, that you are very familiar with, right? And when you speak about things that you are very familiar with, that you know at the back of your hand, then that just gives you more confidence, and that gives you more control, and that gives you a good place to start freestyling how you want to speak as you have the conversation go on. Now, you want to do this at the start of the conversation. Now, as you move through the conversation, then you can start to talk about things that may not be familiar to you, but by that time you would have had more social momentum that you would have built as well. And this works in your favor. There is a such thing as social momentum, right? So what it is, basically, it's you start small, small conversations that are easy to do, but as you're talking, the more you're talking, you start to access a state or an emotion that you express yourself freely and easily without overthinking. So set the tone. Second tip that I want to share with you in regards for this category on how you can create a supportive environment for speaking is choose to have those early conversations with people who are supportive of you, right? Have conversations with people that you know, friends or family that listen to you, that care for you, and that are just good listeners. And just this lets your brain know that you're worthy of being listened to. It also helps build that social momentum up as well. So pick people that support you in your speaking. Now, it gets tricky when you go to a place or a social situation or a party or a conference or a workshop that you don't know anybody, right? And then what you would need to do is you would probably have to pick people that look easy to talk to. They probably appear a bit more open, a bit more kind, and just start a conversation with them. And then you can add the first tip that I shared with you, which is pick topics that you are familiar with, and then you can start to have conversations about things that you really know about, and that starts to give you more confidence, right? So I may be going off in a tangent here, but this tip is pick conversations with people that support you, and then you can eventually expand on that and then bring in other people that you may find a little bit more difficult as well. You have words and sounds that you find difficult, then these next tips are going to help you manage those sounds and words that you find very difficult to say. So here are 3 tips to help you manage those difficult sounds, difficult words. Okay, so the first tip is practice and substitution, right? So practice saying those words that you find difficult. And the more you practice those sounds and those words, the easier it becomes, but it also starts giving you more confidence, more self-esteem in using those words in conversations. The other thing you can do is substitute those words or swap those words for something else, as long as you maintain the same message in what you have to say. And this is perfectly fine. There's nothing wrong with swapping words that are easier to say, as long as you maintain the same message, right? And these 2 tips, practicing and substitution, the more you practice it, it starts improving your ability to control the conversation, control your speaking style as well. And the more you do it, the more confidence you have, and the more you can just freely express yourself. Okay, second tip when it comes to saying difficult words that you find difficult to say is break the word up. Say it in a few syllables as well. Say, for example, the word remember. It has a few parts to it, a few syllables. So if this is a word you find difficult, then you can say it in a few parts, say 3 parts. Remember. Remember that time that you were fluent and confident when you were speaking. There. So break the word up. That's tip number 2. Tip number 3, when it comes to words or sounds that are difficult to say, you can desensitize yourself to those words. Now, this is an interesting thing. There are words and sounds that you have that you are extra sensitive to, and that extra sensitive creates extra anxiety and extra tension, and that increases the probability of you stuttering and blocking on those words. So what you can do is, in a safe environment, with a friend that you trust or a family member that you trust, you can have conversations where you say these extra sensitive words, extra difficult words, and then the more you expose yourself to these words, the less sensitive you become, and you start to desensitize yourself to these words, and eventually they just don't hold that much weight or power for you to start tensing up on. Let's recap on the things you learned today, right? You learned a lot today, by the way, to help you improve your fluency and manage your conversations better. You learned about mindfulness breathing. You learned about pacing and pausing. These 2 tips help you reduce your tension and maintain your flow. You learned about setting the tone. You learned about using visual cues. You learned about choosing supportive listeners. These tips help you create that environment for your speaking ability. You learned about tips on practicing difficult words and also substituting words as well. You learned about breaking the word down. These tips help you say those difficult words or help you maintain the same message with a different word. So you learned a whole bunch of different tips that help you build more confidence and give you more control in your speaking ability. Thank you for joining me today. If you do try one of these techniques or these tips today, do let me know how they work for you. And as always, improving your fluency takes one conversation at a time, and you will get there. So keep practicing, keep working on your speech, because once you're on the other side and you're more comfortable with your voice, you're more fluent, you have a whole bunch of strategies and tips that you can use, then life is so much more better. Okay, so keep working on yourself, and I'll see you in the next video.